I do want to start off with saying that all of us at Rose Creative really do wish you and your family is safe, healthy, as we hang out here at home. We're here today. We're doing this webinar. We call it a webinar. It's discussion too, because we have clients from coast to coast. They're East Coast to West Coast, and it's interesting to see the different experiences each are having, and that we really did want to share what's working, what's not working, things to try, just so you're not out there in the dark while we navigate through this market. Quick introductions. I am Paula Rhoads. I'm president of Rhoads Creative. For those of you who are meeting us for the first time, we are specialists in digital marketing. We specialize in the home building industry, and we do anything from Google to geofencing, social media, email marketing, and more. Here today with me is my partner, Jason. He is the lead digital marketing strategist here at Rhoads, and he will be leading our discussion today. He's the one who has the opportunity to talk to our clients across the board and has a lot to share. We will be fielding questions absolutely as we go along. There's 3 places for you to talk with us. We're asking to use the Q&A button at the bottom center of your screen. It'll be easiest for managed that there's actually 3 different ways to communicate. Even that fun raise your hand little thing, but we are going to be watching those Q&A closely. We're doing separate sections, so ask your questions and we'll field them as we go along. Let's see, what did I forget? Anything? Feel free. We're sharing tips on our social media all the time, as ongoing as we need. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Having said that, I'm going to turn this over to Jason. Jason, maybe start with Google advertising. Jump into what you've learned, what you know, what you can pass on.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Jason. I'm lead digital strategist. I'm the one who pretty much puts together all of our digital marketing campaigns, oversees them, and then talks to our clients about what's going on. Like Paula said, we're going to start with Google. But before we start anything, I just want to say everything we talk about is going to be very dependent right now on where you are. Okay. So if you're on the East or West Coast, it's very different right now than you are in the Midwest or Central U.S. If you're on the coast, we know that depending on where you build, you may not be able to build, may not be able or allowed to build, right? Or you're just very slowed down right now. Where in the Midwest, it may be a little different, but we know that it could turn into that soon. So you can take some of these tips. If you're not as far along, it's not as much of it hasn't expanded like it has like here in Pennsylvania, which is where we are. You could still take these and implement them now because it may change. It may change pretty soon. Okay. As Paula mentioned, feel free to ask questions as I talk, and we're gonna pause after each section to answer anything that comes up, and we have some Q&A at the end. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Google advertising. And the first thing I just want to put out there is that we are seeing, again, it's all dependent on where you are, but in heavily affected areas, traffic from Google search is down on the low end about 30%, high end about 50%. That's a combination of advertising and organic search. People are spending less time searching for what home builders offer. So new homes in Philadelphia, as an example, or home builders in Missouri or Pennsylvania or any state out there, there's less searching going on right now. The top end is about 50% drop is the kind of the highest that we've seen. So less people are on Google right now and searching. That's okay. But the one thing that we know that, and then we're going to shift around. What we want to do is, first thing is, if you're doing Google advertising, don't stop it. All right. Google advertising, obviously it's the first 4 ads that are at the top of every Google page. And you don't want to pause that right now, because even at the worst levels, I said there's 50% less traffic. There's still 50% of the people out there, right? So you still want to, and those 50% of people we're starting to find are much more highly qualified than the 100% or everybody that used to be on Google. So we're seeing a lot more of your time on page, your bounce rates, your average session durations increase by 25-30% right now from Google, because someone who is still searching, if you're in Pennsylvania and someone's still searching for new homes, let's just say, for example, new homes in your area, that person is very qualified and you always want to be in front of them. If you're going to stop Google advertising or you pause it or slow it down significantly, you're not going to be in front of them. And though they may not come into your building right now, or they may not contact you, you want to brand yourself and get in front of them instead of somebody who, instead of like your competitors or somebody else, so that when they are ready to visit, they know of you and you've been at the top of the page. If you stop what you're doing, you're not going to be out there in front of those that core people who are still there and honestly are probably a lot more qualified. Okay. The other thing I would suggest very much so, and this is going to be another theme of what we're going to talk about, is a lot of us on the phone or on this webinar right now probably have a little more time on our hands to do some things that we maybe put on the back burner before this all happened. And one of those with paid advertising, if you're doing paid advertising, I would suggest is really test your ads. So test your copy, test the wording in your advertising. Everybody should be doing testing. So if you're not doing testing, definitely do it. But now's the time to test things that are like virtual. So change your headlines to, instead of, make sure there's not saying come into our sales center, but maybe it's more virtual. Say take a virtual tour of this home. Contact our sales manager for a virtual meeting. Test out all kinds of different combinations and different wording so that you can, so again, you have the time. Instead of just doing some tests, you have the time to really test out some Google advertising and the wording that's in it, right? Now Google comes in two parts. We have advertising, which we just talked about, and organic. And organic, as everybody probably knows, is the 4 ads at the top are the advertising, and then everything below that is organic search. And what we really want, again, we're seeing the same stats across the country right now, and that between probably a 30 to a 50% drop in traffic from organic search on Google. Okay. And with organic search, it's all about, this is kind of your opportunity. This is your time. This is where, again, we maybe have some more time and you want to try and do some things on your website to help increase your rankings or increase where you are on Google to first page, or if you're already on the first page, to higher up on the first page. So that, again, when we are out of this, or when we've kind of moved a little bit farther past this, you'll be in those spots. And we can do that in a couple of different ways. First is content. We're going to talk about content. Content's a lot of what we're going to talk about. Is now is the time to create great content for your buyers and put it on your website. So you have your maybe a builder story, a whole blog piece about your process, what your difference is. Do a virtual walkthrough using something like Loom. That's Loom with an L, not Zoom. And we can talk about that a little bit more. It's a virtual walkthrough program. But work on it now, because organic search and increasing ranking in organic search takes time, right? So anytime we start an organic search program in a normal situation, we always say it takes 2 to 3 months before you really start to see people increase and get on the first page of ranking. So now it's the time to work on it, because in 2 to 3 months, you may be behind the ball if you're not doing something right now, right? And all of that content you produce, anything that you put out there that is engaging to the buyer, that would be helpful to the buyer, is something that can help you. It's going to help you increase your rank on Google, right? So get ahead of it now, right? So that when we're out of the gate, when we're coming out of this, you can be people who will be searching. And from a lot of people we've talked to, they think it's going to be pretty heavy. That it's going to be pretty hard coming out of the gate once we kind of get past this. You want to definitely be on top of that search. You want to work now so that you're at the top. You're in the top first page and top of Google rankings, so that when it's very busy, you're there and you're ready. The other thing is, and this is something I was just talking about with ads, but you can also test your messaging on organic search, right? So it's not, the technical term is not the headline, but when you search for your own company, the name of the company and the little tagline that comes after that, you can change that. Test that out. See if more people click with one headline versus another. Same with the description that's below your organic ranking. if that, again, it's not, the technical term is not description, but change that up. Try a few different ones. See if one clicks more than the other. If more people click on, say, this description than the other, keep that description in there. Again, if you have more time, this is things that you can, again, we all probably have some more time now. You can change this stuff so that you're testing it, and then when it come out of it, you're more optimized and ready to go. Okay. Any questions about Google? I didn't see any pop up, but Paula, do you want to add anything as well?
Well, I did want to say that I am seeing, but that the nationals have not pulled back on their advertising. They haven't beefed up. I'm seeing the same amount, but we certainly don't want to let their brands push ahead of ours, and let our builders have that. Let the nationals get an edge, which they already have such an edge that you want to keep in front of your prospects. You don't want to be forgotten. You want to be up there. Understanding that spend is tough in these days, and everything we're saying is not to benefit what we do at all, but we are seeing that there is a benefit to keeping things going, because there is that activity, and the activity on their websites is at a better level. The other thing I want to say about the content, are you going to talk more about the content, Jason? I did want to say that now's the time. We're all smart. All of you guys are smart out there. Now is the time to put all of those personal assets, everything you know about your industry, everything you've never had time to write down. Now's the time to do it, because you beef up those blogs, beef up the social media. It really will have an effect, and it's your chance to get ahead of your competition in your organic listings. So Jason,
agreed. Yeah. I didn't see any questions pop up. If anybody has one, as we move into social media here, I'll be happy to just pop back to it. We can answer if that works. With social media is different than Google. As probably many of you are aware, social media you can increase. Right now, we're seeing a massive increase in usage on social media, right? So depending on the article that you read, between 40 and 70% is an increase of people using mostly Facebook, Instagram, and we'll talk about this a little bit in a minute, is YouTube, right? So there's a lot more people on social media right now, a lot more usage. It's not more people, excuse me. It's a lot more usage of social media. So people are on their phones more often, just browsing social media. And if you're not, and now different than Google, now is the time to really maybe pivot towards more social media and utilize social media more, because again, the usage is just so much higher right now. Mark Zuckerberg even said he's trying to keep the lights on, and he didn't mean by economically, he meant because he doesn't have enough space to handle everybody coming onto his website. So the first thing we always suggest, if you're doing advertising, definitely keep that up, right? And even consider, if you had some Google and some social advertising going on, consider pivoting some of that money to social media right now. Social media, you're not going to find a lack of people on social media at this point. If you have some budget that you can move from one place to another, from Google, let's say, to social media, again, now's the time. Now would be the time to do it, right? The other thing is with all this, usually with business profiles, because Facebook's made some changes about a year ago. And excuse me, when I say Facebook, I mean Facebook and Instagram. When they made some changes about a year ago, a little more than that, business posts from business get shown less often than personal posts. And but with so much more usage, if you're not posting or you don't post often, make sure you're posting a lot right now, okay? And make sure, and it's not that you say you have to come up with something different. So if you create something for your website, right? So if you, like we talked about, one of those pieces of content about your story or your process, share that on social media. It's not that you have to create something different. Like, utilize what you're doing in other mediums on your social media and on your website. And we'll talk about email in a minute. So we want to, so you can utilize that and use it in your social media posting, right? And the other thing is that make sure right now, if you haven't done it, or if you don't do a lot, boost more posts. So every post that you're putting out there that has that has something that would be engaging to a user, boost it right now. Again, where you could have had 30 to 40% of your followers seeing it now, we're seeing more like 70 to 80% of your followers will be seeing it right now. So it's almost double of what is usually shown because there's so much usage on social media. There's so much consumption that people can fill and see more and are seeing more of what's out there, right? So if you're sometimes we're just doing advertising and posting, but not boosting posting, I would suggest at this point, boost on social media, do as much advertising as you can, and then also boost as many posts as you can, right? So if you're not boosting right now, I'd say boost and boost and boost. Any post that you think would be worthwhile for your people to see, do that. Okay. The other thing with social media is that we've heard from some people that they're starting to, and this is, I know, very dependent on your brand, right? But some brands are very restrictive of their social media profile. Some are a little more open. No matter what level you're at, suggest opening your social media a little more to your sales managers. And what we mean by that is let your sales managers post maybe a virtual tour that they take with on their computer, that they walk someone through. Let them post some photos that they may have. Make sure that they look nice, but open it up a little more to your sales managers so that they can post content that's a little more targeted to your buyers, maybe a little bit more organic to your buyers, right? And in doing that, they can use mostly your Facebook page, right? Instagram can be used for this as well, but it's not as much of a page. As you know, it's more profile, so you just search your pictures. But your your sales managers can go out and use the Facebook page as almost a virtual sales center, right? So in their emails to people, they can correspond and say, hey, we've been updating our Facebook page with all this content about what's going on, or about what we're doing while we're working remote. Check it out on your own leisure. So it's more of a place that people can really go to as a hub that is online. It's not a web page where they can check out more about what's going on at the sales center. Okay. And then finally, touched on this, but YouTube is so high right now. The usage, again, it's just as much or more than Facebook and Instagram, how much the increase in usage. So much so that YouTube is even considering throttling down some of the quality, right? But that won't affect too much of what you're doing. If you're not doing YouTube advertising and you have some videos to do it, again, now's the time to really consider it. It's easy to set up pre-roll advertising. And pre-roll advertising, is when you watch YouTube video, it's the ads before the video. And it's very easy to set that up, and it's very cheap. YouTube advertising is very inexpensive, right? So for what you can get a click on Google for, you can usually get about 4 to 5 video views on YouTube for right now. So it's now number one if you need to shift, or number two if you're just looking for something to better utilize, or if you have to cut budget back, better utilize your budget. YouTube is a really good place to do that right now. Okay. And if you have any video, you can upload it to that, to YouTube to use in advertising. It doesn't have to have, a lot of people think that you have to have the 15-second video, which is really nice, or the 7-second video that's right for YouTube. But if you have a longer video, that's okay. You can put it up there and people may just skip through it, but some people who are interested will may watch the whole thing, or at least part of it. With YouTube, depending on how it's set up, you also don't get charged until they watch you, depending usually between 30 seconds and a minute, right? So if they skip right through it, you're not going to get charged. So again, very cost effective. Okay. Paula, anything to add with that?
Well, just a few things on the Facebook advertising. We have been seeing that because budgets are cut back and because it's down, it is something that feeds into lower costs. So moving the Google advertising, which traditionally has a higher cost than Facebook or Instagram, moving it's a good time to try that out. It's another good reason, because you may find that the cost of your advertising is less. I also, the YouTube, as you know, the videos with real estate can be really insightful, and really getting into doing some creative things like walking an individual lot that has a view with a camera, getting to what they're not going to see, turning that Facebook, turning that Instagram into a virtual sales center. by adding things like that that you haven't gotten into doing before is the opportunities there, and to just do so much different. Do a walkthrough of a quick delivery home. These are things you can do by yourself. You can post, and things that just will add some engagement that you really, a lot of salespeople haven't had time to do. I'm 100% with Jason. Open that posting up to your salespeople. You can really make that Facebook and Instagram, of course. You can really make them virtual sales offices by beefing it up, and is where your customers are spending their time. So,
yeah, no, agreed. I would also say that if you're in an area that can't go to like Pennsylvania, you're in some areas that you're not allowed to go to your quick delivery. There are tools out there. I quickly mentioned it. Loom is one of them. It's LOOM. It's so you can do screen recordings and talk. It's very easy to make screen recordings and talk through tours. So I've seen a lot of builders just have their salespeople screen record and talk as they're walking through a virtual tour or an interactive floor plan or or like a Matterport tour, right? So if you're in an area like that, I would highly suggest like something called Loom, or something that's like a screen sharing screen recording software to so that you can make virtual walkthroughs, as what I would call it, right? Okay. We had one question pop up that I answered. Any others, feel free to pop them in. And what I would like, and then we're going to move on to email marketing and then our websites. Paula, I'm going to ask you a question. It seems, if you can give me an estimate or a guess, how much more email do you feel like you're getting right now? And
you know what, I wish we did. We don't want to bother everybody with the poll, but I'd say at least double the emails that I'm getting nowadays.
Yeah.
Although I certainly have a lot more time to spend reading them.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm more engaged in my email than usual. And I'm guessing you're asking that because you're going to jump into the email quick. Can you share the question? We did that question that it was asked. Can our boosts? It does say, is boost free? How does it work?
So,
go ahead.
A boost is not free. It's a promoted post on social media that what it does is it extra money to show to more followers or people that are like your followers on your from your page, right? It's not free, but you can spend $25 to $50 on a boost and be very effective with it.
Yeah, and not have to set up an advertising campaign.
That's correct. Not have to set up an advertising. You'll see when you put up a post, there's usually a button. Facebook makes it pretty clear on Facebook and on Instagram because they want you to boost it to get ad revenue to say boost post. There's a big blue button usually in the right-hand corner. So, okay. So yeah, as Paul was saying, everyone's getting a lot more email right now. We know that, right? And now's the time to take what you're doing in email, right? And we're going to hone it in. Again, we probably have more time. This is where we want to do some segmentation of our lists, do some different types of email marketing. And what I mean by that is, we're probably all familiar with sending out a mass email to our lists, or list A, B, and C about list 1, 2, 3 about something that's going on in your community or something that's going on in your business or a new offer that you may have. But what we really need to do right now, because so many more people are getting email, and 2, because there's more time on our hands, is segment those lists by types of clients. Or types of customers, excuse me. So if you want to put them into at least A prospects and everyone else. More preferably would be like A's, B's, C's, and then everybody else, or maybe just A's and B's and everyone else. But separate them into different buckets depending on their interests or their timeline. And then what we want to do is take those buckets and send them different types of emails, right? Something that's personalized to them. For example, you have your A list, right? Send them, instead of sending them just all the mass emails, take them out of your mass email list and send them something more personalized. Send something that is titled to them from their sales manager, and again incorporates maybe a piece of content you just created for your website and share it on your social media page, right? Again, we've talked about taking them through like a virtual walkthrough of the house, something that's personalized, has their name in it. And you can put that into an email. Anything that you really just want to make everything that you're doing right now very personalized to your top prospects, because with so much more email coming in, there's so much more attention to it. Okay. And actually there's a recent survey of builder and builder marketing people. Over 50% right now said that email is their most effective sales tool. Okay. So people are, and we are also experiencing that. We're seeing with our clients a lot more conversion, a lot more movement from email marketing than we had in the past. Right. And to really amp that up again, we really want to segment those lists and make sure that you're sending right. Make sure you're sending, especially your A prospects, stuff that is targeted towards them and isn't just broad strokes. Okay. The other thing is what you also can do, again, make sure you don't have to create new content for email. Leverage anything that you create on social media for your website. So if you're creating if you're writing a blog post that you think is going to help with your Google rankings, use that on your email too. There's no reason that you can't use it across all the different media. All right. Also with email, this is more about the timing, right? So we hopefully have some time right now. We have some more time right now. If you do not have your email automation set up, now's the time to do email automation. Okay. So and what I mean by that is, do you have it set up that when someone submits a contact form, they get an email into their inbox about the next steps? After 30 days, do they get this email? And then after 60 days, do they get this email? After they're entered into your CRM system because they visited, do they get this? Do they automatically get a different email, right? We want to set up that email automation now, because honestly, it does take time. It is a little bit time consuming. And I know a lot of builders, that's something that don't do, or a lot just kind of do in a very small part, right? Because it does take a little more time. It's a little time consuming, right? But it's in builders that do it, we've seen a really large payoff from it, because one, it's automated so that you don't have to keep doing it over and over. But two, there's always touch points for your buyers, right? So you're always hitting them with something new or something engaging or something personalized when they make contact with you. And again, now if you have the time, now's the time. It's something that you consider spending your time on, because it takes time. And most email marketing programs, MailChimp, Constant Contact, if you're using HubSpot, it definitely does it. Even CRM systems, I know Sales Simplicity, Lasso, things like that have that set up in it, right? So you can set that all up doing that kind of stuff. Okay. Paul, anything to add?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. That it's the time to get personal. That A list is good for us. We've segmented it. We're getting more personal in it, and we're getting to connect a little more than we typically would, or because people aren't so busy. They've got the time and they've got the questions. We know they're interested. We just know that other times, when we're all working practically 24/7 in our normal days, that they didn't have the time before.
Yep. Agreed. Okay. I don't see any questions, so we'll move on to honestly, the topic we have the most, we kind of saved it towards the end here, the most to talk about and the most to kind of review is websites and what to do with websites right now. So to start with websites, again, depending on where you are is depending on your situation, right? So if you can only do virtual, if some are walk-in, if you're allowed to have people in, but you're only allowed to have one person in at a time, if it's by appointment, if no one's allowed in, make sure you're make sure you're doing, make sure you have that up on your website so that you have a virtual, that you have a notice on something that you're doing virtual right now, right? Make sure that there's a banner or something that pops up, doesn't cover the whole page, but something maybe comes up from the bottom that says, hey, that says we're doing virtual meetings and set up to schedule one. With that, what we've been finding is very successful with some builders is that make sure that you are making it very clear to your prospects that do want to do virtual meetings that you will adapt to them in any way, right? So if they want to use Zoom, you'll use Zoom. If they want to use FaceTime, you'll use FaceTime. If they just want to do a conference call, you'll do a conference call. If they want to do Google, you'll do a Google Hangout, right? And I have seen a lot of people, I've actually seen a couple builders with some success in their virtual forms or on their contact forms, put a drop down that says, how would you like us to meet? And there's how would you like us to virtually meet? And there's options. It says there's a drop down with Zoom, FaceTime, text messaging, conference call, Google. It makes it so that they know that it's going to be very easy for them and that they don't have to jump through any hoops to do, we don't want any hoops. You don't want them to jump through any hoops to do a virtual meeting, right? You want it to be really easy on them. So make sure that you are, one, set up to do that, and two, that you show them the options that, look, we're going to contact you in any way. We'll make it easy on you. However you prefer to do this, we will do it that way. Okay. And I would, again, highly suggest, if you have the capability to do that or setting up the capability to do that, put a drop down or put some buttons on the website that say, how would you like us to meet? And have all those different virtual options. Okay. Then that's currently, right. The other thing that we had talked about it before is, and we kind of talked about SEO when it comes to organic search, is that now is the time, right? If your website is really lacking, now's the time, because when this is over, it's going to be somewhat of we feel like it's going to be a rush, and you really want your website to be updated and ready to go for when that comes through. And websites take some time to put together. So if your website is very outdated and needs to be completely redone, yes, now would be the time, because again, you really, when we come out of this, you really want to be out in front of everybody. You want the best foot forward, but not just brand new, right? So is your website fast enough? Okay. Like if your website's not loading in 2 to 3 seconds max, or like if it's not loading instantly, work on your speed. Speed's very important when it comes to user experience, and speed's very important when it comes to Google. Okay. User experience. Do people find what they're looking for easily, or do they find what you want them to see easily, right? Even consider adding something like heat mapping. Heat mapping is a piece of software that it shows what is the most popular parts of your website and records what people are doing, so you can watch them, right? So you can actually log on and watch them, what they're doing, okay? And you look at those and say, okay, for example, no one is looking at my virtual tours. How can I make them more clear, right? 2 examples of heat mapping companies I know of that are really good are Hotjar and Lucky Orange. Lucky Orange is a little cheaper. Hotjar's got some more features that are nicer. Okay. The calls to action. Are your live chats, are your phone numbers, are your contact forms, are they really clear? Because if they're not really clear, work on it, and you can. And even if people aren't finding them when you're doing that heat mapping, or you can tell that they're not, edit your website so that they are more clear. You want people to be able to contact you, and not just virtually right now, but in the future, right? You want to make sure it's really clear. Okay. Even your written content, and I don't mean like new content that you create, but take a look at the written wording on your home pages and your community pages. Are they exactly what you're looking for? Are they really speaking to what your buyer says? This is all website edits you could be doing right now that can really help boost when you come out of this and really answer to your buyers. And also, I know that if you don't have, there are things that aren't video, because obviously a video, someone has to go to your sales model and take a video, and that may not be possible right now. But there's things that you can do digitally that you don't need someone to do. So interactive floor plans, right? Interactive site maps, renderings. These are some things that you can just send to Rendering House, or you can send to a lot of different companies out there, and they can create them now digitally, and you can have them ready. There are all kinds of assets that take a couple months to take some time to create. So create them now, and you'll have them ready to go again once we're more out of this. Okay. Paula, anything to add with that? I have some more on tracking I also want to talk about.
Yeah, no, I do want to say that seriously take a look at your website. Everybody thinks, even ours, we look at it, read every word of it. It's really interesting how I can go on a builder's website and we're this actually happened recently. We are doing advertising for a new community, and you can't see the new community on their map. It was added. It's a lot more south than their other communities. Take a really, really, really scrape it well and make sure that old renderings are down, that type of thing. It's the time to sit back. Have your salespeople do it. Look at individual sections and clean it up. It's the perfect time to get it up to speed. More people are looking at your website right now, but we have the time. And the heat mapping is, it sounds a little scientific, but it's super easy to implement, and it's amazing how you can see where they're spending their time, how far they're scrolling down on a page. If you have good information at the bottom of a page and they're not getting to it, it's brilliant stuff, and it's actually really cool to watch. But it does give you so much information that can make that website work better for you. And again, now's the time because we have the time.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, yeah.
Super important stuff.
Yeah, the tracking. So we probably all track when someone calls or someone sends in a contact form or someone emails, or if you have live chat, if they use live chat, right? If you're not doing that, definitely make sure you're tracking where those are coming from, right? But now is also the time that we want to track really small things that happen on your website. If it's technical, a lot of people call it micro events, right? So how many people click on a virtual tour? How many people click on a interactive floor plan? How often is your social media icons clicked? How often is one plan clicked over another, right? How much of your video gets watched? How far do they scroll down the page? It's all these little pieces of information, right, that you want to do. You want to first, number one, you collect that information, but two, you can use it in two different ways. The first way is just like we were talking about the website and user experience, right? You can edit your website now so that going forward, you know that, okay, we've optimized, we've made some changes that we know that people are having a hard time finding our virtual tours or weren't clicking them very often, so we made them more prominent, right? You can just edit your website based on that information. But right now, like current situation is, you can think about it as, I can take that information that we're getting. So I know, for example, that virtual tour A is much more popular than virtual tour C, or that people are spending 4 minutes playing with interactive floor plan 1, and they're only spending 30 seconds playing with the interactive floor plan 2, and just using that as an example, right? Leverage that in everything else that you're doing. Okay. So take that. So if we know that virtual floor plan is number one, right? If we know that that's the most popular, take that and create a social media post about it. Take that and create a separate piece of content about it on your website. Take that and send it in an email to prospects. Okay. Send it in one of those personalized emails. Any kind of information you can gather about what is being used the most on the website and what is being most popular used on the website, take that right now and use it to take that now as it is now and use it and leverage it across all your different virtual, mediums that you have to use because there's not so many people coming into your sales center. Okay. Even create posts about it, right? So we were talking about social media posts. If you know that everybody uses floor plan A, but no one uses floor plan B, work on why no one uses floor plan B, but definitely just promote floor plan A, right? It's an easy way to know what's working right now and get it out there to more people. Okay. The other thing with, and again, the other thing with what you want to do and what you want to do as you're tracking is make sure that everything that we just talked about is going back to where it came from. And what I mean by that is, right, so if we know that everyone who's clicking on ads or clicking on a virtual tour is coming from an ad, make sure you know that, right? So you know, okay, all these people from this ad click on that virtual tour, all right? Maybe we should promote that virtual tour in the ad so that more people will click on it. Or maybe we should change all of our ads to click on that virtual tour. Or if they're coming from social media, maybe we should change the imagery in social media. Make sure you know where all these little events are coming from so that you can tie it back and change your creative on the back end.
Jace, can I interrupt a second? Yeah. We did have 2 questions pop up, if you want to field them.
Yeah, so one was, why not dial phones if everyone's emailing, which is a really good question to ask.
Paul, why don't you, if you want to.
I can actually feel that. I think it's an excellent idea. We're reporting more on our digital side of things, and absolutely, so many people are receptive to Zoom meetings. We are connecting. Jason's been connecting face to face with our clients who we've never met. They're receptive to the video. It's wonderful to get to know them personally. And I expect, although all of what we're doing is Zoom meetings, I expect that people are much more receptive to phone calls. It's the old thing, you know, we forget that we have telephones because we're so connected.
Agreed. To take that to the next level, I have seen a couple builders, and I won't say this is many, it's a couple, who have really, and this somewhat ties into it, really stepped up their text messaging to prospects, right? So if they can't get them on the phone, they are doing a lot more texting, which would make sense because everybody's home. So if they're not dialing the phone is a great idea. And if they're not doing that, you can also consider defaulting and going towards maybe sending some more text messaging than you were before. Okay. Also had a question about how do we be sure we are not looking insensitive with email? It's a good question. Go ahead, Paul. Did you want to?
Well, everything that I'm reading is certainly to never appear opportunistic, to be empathetic with your emails, reaching out to helping them, how that you can help them while they're confined. It is certainly the most important thing is to not push the sale. Although there are ways to do that, we have been hearing about builders who are incentivizing for virtual not virtual appointments, but even more for virtual deposits and agreements. But it's just all in how you say it. The empathy is big right now. People are anxious, and but they do have the time.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Last other question was, how do we call more attention to our Facebook page? And I'll add in social media profiles. I would say we talked about boosting before. If you're talking about on your websites, right, definitely use that micro tracking or that heat mapping to see how many people are actually seeing your social media icons. Do you need to change that so that maybe it's not an icon? Maybe you embed more of your profile. I've seen a lot of websites that you can actually show a large snippet of what you can show tiles from your Instagram profile, right? Not just a little icon. So if you're trying to use more of it, use that tracking to see how many people are actually clicking on it, and then make a change to your website to promote it or make it larger, or even make a whole section devoted to it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's good. I did want to mention that we're coming up on 12:45.
Yep.
If there's any other questions, or if you wanted to open up for a few minutes that we could hear questions, I don't know if that would be easier.
Yeah, let's just use the Q&A. Where did you say you need to try? Let's just keep it to the Q&A and chat, which is fine. But yeah, we can, we had finished on tracking and micro events, but if you have any other questions, feel free to use either the chat or the Q&A, and we can answer them right now. One question came in, where did you say you can set up tracking on the website? So most tracking is set up through Google Analytics. If you don't have that set up, you can get that set up pretty easily. And then the other tracking we talked about was like heat mapping, which would be through, I would suggest Hotjar or Lucky Orange if you're looking for a more budget option. And,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And I think that most people do know that they have Google Analytics, but if there are ways to really look in depth at your analytics, and that's something that would be a webinar in itself, but we can help you with.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Is that good? Are we good? Any last questions?
Any last questions? If you have any other questions, we are going to send this out as a recording in our email. You can always feel free to contact us. We're happy to drop an email or get on a quick call and just answer any questions you may have, even about what's going on in the market. We talk to so many builders a day. We have a knowledge about everything that's kind of going on in the industry right now, and what some builders are doing. So.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to, at this point, we'll finish up and say thank you to everybody for dialing in and taking the time, and everyone stay well.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.